All right, now listen to this. Mother and daughter say they were threatened with ejection from a WNBA game simply for supporting Sophie Cunningham and her fight for fairness in women's sports. They tell Outkick that a security guard told them that they had to cover up their XXXY branded T-shirts because one fan was offended by it. Fox News contributor Joe Concha joins us now. So they had been there through the entire game. Somebody came up to them, security guard came up to them during overtime and said, somebody's complained about your shirts. You've got to take these shirts, which I guess were given out at the game as gifts, and put them on and cover up your shirts. I mean, what do you think about all this?
I mean, John, this is amazing. I mean, this mom and daughter that we just saw on the screen say they paid $1,000 for these tickets. They were basically courtside, primarily because obviously Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham were on the opposing team in the Indiana Fever. This took place in Atlanta. At last glance, there is a First Amendment in this country, and worrying about an XXYY T-shirt stating the most obvious and benign thing in the history of T-shirts, that there are XX chromosomes and XY chromosomes that differentiate men and women, and that somehow cannot be displayed. I mean, that's obviously, 31 flavors of censorship. And believe me, as sure as you were born, if the T-shirts worn were of the pro-trans variety, not one word would have been said. In fact, we know this because a T-shirt supporting trans rights was featured on the Jumbotron in that arena last night during the same game. And by the way, John, the Atlanta Fever, the same franchise, is where its players refused to stand for the national anthem last night, and then they honored who they called the Honorable Stacey Abrams, a two-time gubernatorial loser in Georgia and an infamous election denier. So it's almost as if the team is trying to tell certain fans, we don't want your business. Stay away. You could display a message, but it has to be what we approve to be the right message.
All right, so as you point out, another fan had been wearing a Protect Trans Rights T-shirt, had been put up on the big video board at the game, and let's not forget that at a game a couple of weeks ago, Minnesota Lynx coach Cheryl Reeves wore a Trans Kids Belong shirt on the sidelines as she was coaching a team. And she had that on when she went up onto the field, onto the floor to talk to Sophie Cunningham. There she is wearing that shirt. So clearly there's a double standard. Yeah. Some statements are okay, other statements are not. Here's the league rules on clothing. The State Farm Arena, so this is the local clothing rules there in Atlanta. Clothing garments or signs displaying explicit language, profanity, or derogatory characterization toward any person is not allowed. I don't think those T-shirts fell into any of those categories. The NBA fan code of conduct. Obscene or indecent messages or signs or clothing will not be permitted. Did these XXXY shirts, and on the back of the XX shirt, it's a Riley Gaines shirt, it said for the girls. Does any of that contravene these rules in your mind?
Not even close, Bud, to quote the movie Breakfast Club. But overall, John, the WNBA is a hot mess. And it's a shame because it's all self-inflicted. I mean, I recently filed a column on this for the Washington Examiner, and the numbers are extraordinary. Just listen to this. When comparing the WNBA pre-Caitlin Clark to post-Caitlin Clark, attendance was around 6,500 fans per game before Clark came into the league. And it's basically doubled since then overall. Its TV ratings, which are the most important thing, are sometimes better than national Major League Baseball telecasts, and they're far better than anything you would see with the NHL in terms of their regular season games. So the WNBA All-Star Game alone drew more than 3 million viewers. That's quadruple what it was before Caitlin Clark came into the league. So overall, they had this momentum. And that's largely thanks to Caitlin Clark and lately Sophie Cunningham. And they seem hell-bent on destroying themselves from a PR perspective. And you got to wonder, well, is this all worth it? In the end, just offer up a product, treat fans fairly, and stop trying to win a political argument when people just want to watch basketball and get the escapism that you get when you watch any sport, especially live when you're paying good money for it, John.
So, of course, last week the big story with the WNBA was they had this big meeting and they couldn't come up with the need even for some sort of definition as to what a woman is after Royce White and Ennis Cantor Freedom said that they were going to declare their eligibility for the draft. Well, Caitlyn Jenner had a very simple message for the WNBA Commissioner, Kathy Engelbert. Listen to what she said.
Kathy, XX you're in, XY you're out. It's that simple.
But they don't seem to make it that simple. Joe?
Yeah, that's Caitlyn Jenner saying that, right? So in the end, 80% of people believe that men should not play against women in sports. This is the simplest thing in the world, and I just can't understand why some of the Democratic side of the aisle, some of their allies in the media, and especially the WNBA, which still, despite all the numbers I shared in terms of the momentum they have in terms of attendance and ratings, still loses money every year, and without the men's NBA would not exist because it's subsidized by that. So, yeah, just do a common sense thing and stay out of this stuff and let fans display what they want to, especially if it's something benign and doesn't hurt anybody.
Joe, thank you for your thoughts on all of this. By the way, just want a little programming note here. Laura is going to have Casey Thomason, who's the mom who was threatened with being kicked out of the Atlanta arena last night, tonight on her program at 7 o'clock. All right, looking forward to that. Joe, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.